Today is June the 5th, 2014. My name is Tanya Finchum, along with Alex Bishop, and we're with Oklahoma State University. And today we're in Jones, Oklahoma, to speak with Grace Gragson. Did I pronounce that right?
Grace McEwen Gragson, yes.
Okay. So thank you for having us today. This is part of our 100-Year Life project. So let's start with having you tell us when and where you were born.
I was born March the 23rd, 1914 in Edmond, Oklahoma, on land that is now owned by the college there.
What did your parents do for a living at that point?
Well, my dad farmed some, and he worked in cotton gins quite a lot, and ended up being a farmer.
And your mother?
She didn't work. She stayed home and kept the kids.
So she worked a little bit then. Worked just a little bit. How many children did she have?
Three. One, I'm 3 years older than my little sister, and between us, they lost a baby. But I don't know how. Nobody ever said whether it was just started or what.
And where did you go to school?
I went to school. First school was 7C, right out here at Anderson and 108th. And when I was 6 years old, we moved to 122nd and Post Road, and then I graduated from 8th grade at Red Top. And Red Top was on Douglas and 108th. 3 miles west of 7C.
And did you go beyond 8th grade?
I graduated from Jones High School in 1931.
31. Did you have a favorite subject?
A what?
Favorite subject?
Algebra. My teacher taught me algebra and I loved it. Some of the kids never did catch on to it.
You're brave.
The superintendent, somehow we just connected because whatever he was explaining, it just hit me. I loved it, but some of the other kids never did catch on to it, I don't think. In fact, we only had 4 in our class. And I married the boy, 3 girls and a boy, and I married the boy later on.
Well, how would you get to school?
My sister and I had to walk a little over 1 mile and caught a school bus. We rode a school bus.
When you were in the 8th grade or when you were in 1st grade?
No, in 1st grade I walked, and up to the 8th grade we walked 2 miles, around 2 miles. And we had to walk a little over a mile to catch a school bus. Oh, well, my brother graduated when I was a freshman. And he had a car. He drove us to school at my freshman year. But those next 3 years, we had to walk to the school bus.
What were some of the things you did for fun during those days?
Played basketball. I loved it.
Half court, full court?
Well, it was sure different than it is now because the girls, it was divided into 3 sections. Forwards, jump center and side center and guards. I was jump center. And when I must have been in the 7th grade maybe, we had a tournament at Britain School. And when we got home, our teacher was our coach, and he told me that the coach of the other team, I was jump center, and he said that jump center is in a class by herself. So I sounded like I might have been the best player on the court.
What would you wear to play in?
Well, we had to wear black bloomers at that time. Then later on, before I got out of high school, we had bought suits for suits. But we started out with bloomers.
Well, would the other teams come to your school, or would you go to theirs?
Both. Sometimes we'd go to Luther or State Center or someplace else to play, and then they'd come to, it's just like they do today. They have to play here and then play there.
Well, that would have been in some of the time during the Depression. Do you have any memories of that?
When I was a freshman.
The Depression?
Oh,
The
depression. Man, I tell you, I've scoured my house many times trying to find a penny to go buy a loaf of bread. That was something else.
Yeah.
That dust storms and all that stuff. I was through that.
And you were young, but do you remember anything about the influenza, the flu epidemic?
A what?
The flu epidemic?
No.
Too young?
No, my mother nursed a lot of people, took care of them through that, but she never did get it. But a lot of people, this Gragson that I married, his mother died when he was 4 years old with the flu. And the kids had to take him to school with them, the older kids, because he was he was the youngest, and he was 4. And he told me that the older sister, one day they were at school and she got in trouble for something, and she had to stand at the blackboard with her nose in a thing. This little kid felt sorry for her, so he went out and found a brick to put under her feet so she could stand on it. Because it stretched her up to get her nose in that circle.
Well, you sure couldn't do that today, could you? No. Well, was your husband in the war?
No.
He didn't go to the military?
There's just there's a place there that they were too young, and then they was too old, but he was too young always.
Well, do you remember when World War I was over, or World War II was over?
Yeah, but I remember when World War I was over too.
You did. Oh, you would have been young, but...
My uncle was in World War I, one of Mother's brothers. He came home, and my brother Clyde and he came to our house after when, well, I don't know whether it's that day that he got that, but anyway, he came, and Clyde and I were walking down the road. We lived down north here from Jones in a little old house, and Clyde and I were down the road a ways up in a tree. That's the thing that bothers me. I can't remember words to say. This little old tree, and Uncle Lewin come down there and said, "What are you monkeys doing up in that tree?"
Had a little bit of fun.
That was after that. And his younger brother, this Uncle Lewin, was at the dock, ready to go overseas when it quit, so he didn't have to go. But and another thing of this Uncle Lewin, they were in Germany, and Germans were dropping bombs all over. Well, they was hiding out in a potato patch for a few nights, and Uncle Lewin that day went out and found another place for him to stay. And that night, the German bombed that potato patch off of the earth. They just barely got out in time. And another one of my cousin's husband, he was a bombardier this was in World War II. And one of the bombs got stuck in the airplane. He had to get on that bomb and write it down to unstick it. So things happen in the war.
Well, once you graduated from high school, what did you do?
After I graduated, well, I went to Edmond for 6 months or something, and then I got married.
To the boy in your, yeah, okay.
To McEwen, yeah, it was Carol's.
And that would have been 1931 or 2?
30, yep, yeah, 32.
32.
Where did he take you for your first date?
What?
Where did your husband take you on your first date?
I don't even remember the first date. Probably someplace at the school. Jones didn't have electricity, and they had a Delco system down here. Used to have a water tower right there by a little bit east of the Sonic, just a couple of doors down. And at a certain time at night, I think it was maybe 10 o'clock, if we had anything at the school, they blinked the lights. Well, you knew you had to get everything ready and get out of there in 15 minutes, because in 15 minutes the lights went out. That's when they turned the Delco off at 9:15.
Did they have school dances? Dances? No?
No.
What did your husband do for a living?
Well, not much of anything, I'll tell you. We had cows. My mother-in-law's brother was a captain of a ship, a merchant ship, I guess, because they hauled stuff to Japan and China and around. And he retired and came here to live with her, and they bought the farm that I live on now, up by the schoolhouse here. And in 1939, because it was before 1940, my husband and I, Uncle Bill, the guy that retired from the ship, he sold his half, because my husband's mother and dad went half and half with our brother, and we bought his half and got a loan from the farm, something, I don't remember that name, it's in Oklahoma City. Well, we paid that off and then borrowed the rest of the money from my dad, and my husband never did pay him much. And so when my dad died, that was my inheritance from him, was that he gave me the rest of the farm. And my brother got a farm, that they bought a farm out northwest here at Jones, and my sister got the house that they lived in right down here on Main Street in Jones. That was, they had us 3 kids.
Well, did you work outside of the home?
I did later on in 1963. Well, I worked at different jobs sometimes. The first of them that I really liked was in the election board in Oklahoma City, and I really liked that job. And then the banker here, there was 2 brothers who owned the bank there for a while, and he saw my predicament, and he knew, I guess he knew the treasurer of the county, and he told him to put me to work. And so I went to work in the treasurer's office for a little while, and then one of my best friend's daughter, I don't know where she worked, but she found out that in the county welfare department, the lady that was the clinic clerk, which what you did was the county had free doctor and free medicine for those that were eligible. Well, that was my job, to interview them to find out if they was eligible. So, but she called me. I was working at John A. Brown's at that time, counting out green stamps to mail to people that had bought on time. So anyway, I went and interviewed the boss of the county welfare department, and I got the job. So I worked there till I retired. And you had to work in the county 15 years. Well, I just barely made the 15. I think I was about 16 or 17 years is what I worked counting this, that I'd worked down at the courthouse. in the treasurer's office and the election board there. And that's my life.
So what year did you retire?
In 1976.
76. Do you remember voting for the first time?
What?
Voting? Do you remember going to vote
Oh,
the first time?
I voted. No, I don't remember the first time I voted. I used to work when they voted here at Jones, and I helped count votes. Then you had to count them, and I worked that too.
Do you remember your first airplane that you saw then?
Saw the first airplane?
For the first time.
No, don't remember it at all.
First refrigerator.
Yeah, I remember that. We bought a little small refrigerator, and as I say, my husband would rather buy whiskey than pay his deals, so we couldn't pay for it. And so my aunt, instead of us having to just turn it back, my aunt took the refrigerator and paid it off then. So that was my first. Well, the rest of them was icebox. We had icebox when I was a kid, of course. Had to buy your ice, put it up top, put a pan under there to drip, catch the drip. Yeah.
Did Jones have an ice plant then?
Uh-uh.
No. Did he get it from?
Jones never has had an ice plant.
Where would you get it from then? The ice?
Well, we had to go somewhere and buy it, and mostly Oklahoma City.
Oklahoma City.
Uh-huh.
Has Jones changed a lot since your high school days?
Not a whole lot.
Not really.
Of course, it's just different, different stores now than then.
Did it have a theater?
We used to have, Carol's dad had a theater when they came to Jones, And now the police station is in that building down there on Main Street.
There you go. Well, when you went to Edmond to go to college, what were you going to study?
What was what?
What were you going to college for?
Oh, well, I was taking shorthand and typing. I like that too.
Shorthand they don't teach anymore.
Don't they?
No.
Oh, well, I'll say.
Do you remember how to do any of it?
No, I don't
No.
remember any of it at all.
Well, did you have brothers and sisters?
Me,
Mm-hmm.
I had one brother and one sister. As I say, between Ruth, my baby sister was named Ruth, and they lost a baby. But they never did tell me whether it was, it might have been just now there's words I can't say what I want to, but probably wasn't old enough to.
How was your relationship with your brothers and sister?
Oh, it was good.
Yeah.
My sister and I played together all the time, and my brother took care of us. One of the things that my sister was probably 6 years old or something like that. Well, it was little at 1923. We had a flood. The dam broke here, and out at our house, it was knee-deep water all around the house. And the next, whether it was that, it was in the fall, so it might have been the next winter, or it might have been that winter, because the water was still down in the pasture and it was froze over. Mother and Dad had gone somewhere and left us 3 kids at home by ourselves. And we decided to go skating. Well, Clyde skated around and got out, and I was down a little ways. I skated and got out, and my little sister Ruth started to skate to get up to where Clyde had gotten out, and she fell through. The ice was it was real cold, but it was sunny. We had a day like that this past winter. And Clyde jumped in and got her out. And we had to walk quite a little ways to the house because this was down across the field into the pasture. And I know those kids like to froze to death when we got home to get those doggone wet clothes off. But we had a lot of fun. We, of course, had to make all of our fun. In fact, one of the things, I was tomboy. I don't think the tree that had a limb down close enough for me to get a hold of it that I didn't climb because I like climb trees. And but Daddy bought oil in 50-gallon iron barrels. Well, when one would get empty, I'd lay it over on its side and climb up on top of it and roll it and walk. Well, one day I fell, broke my tooth off. So I got most of my own teeth, which the dentist says is kind of unusual. But anyway, and then we had to make our stilts. We took a big long board and nailed a little 2x4 thing there to step on and put a little strap of something to there, and we'd make our stilts and walk. And take a hoop off of an old wagon wheel, and we took a lath and put a little cross piece on the bottom, and we'd roll that wagon wheel with that stick. So when you live out there 5 miles in the country, there's nothing to do but do it yourself. Make all your things. So we made a lot of things like that.
Was church very important? Was church?
Well, he didn't go to church
Then.
not till later on.
Well, what about holidays? Did you have any family traditions during holidays?
Yeah, usually we went to my mother's folks. They lived out northeast, southeast of Jonesure. We went to there. I remember, well, they lived right north of Jonesure. One year, I must have been 4 years old or something like that. And it was snow. I don't know how deep it snowed. Anyhow, my dad took the wagon box off of the wheels to make a sled out of, and I hitched the horses to this sled. And that was for Christmas. We went to Grandma Tiller's for Christmas. And when I got close enough to Grandma Tiller, well, she stepped out on the porch, and I got a dolly, I got a dolly. I got a doll for Christmas, and I had to show her my doll.
Well, roads at that time were probably pretty rough.
Well, I guess so. We just had a horse and buggy. We didn't have a car for a long time. In fact, we didn't have a car in this 1918 when Uncle Llewellyn came home from the war. We didn't have a car. He got a car right after that. And this is the story that my mother's youngest sister was just 5 years older than me. And, she was telling a story. When Mother first got into a car to drive, Clyde, my brother Clyde, he must have been 6 or 7 years old or something. I don't know just what. Maybe he's a little older than that. Anyhow, she drove up to go somewhere, and when she come back, she didn't know how to stop. She just kept going, and my brother Clyde reached over and turned the key off. That little kid. So he stopped her. Probably running into the barn or something.
Well, did she make your clothes? Your mother sewed?
Mother sewed wonderful. I had the first thing I had, I was probably 12 years old, and this Aunt Frida that's just 5 years older than me, she was a school teacher. She taught school all her life, and she bought me a new coat. And that's the first bought thing that I had, because Mother made everything. Mother was a good seamstress.
Did she teach you?
Well, she tried to. But I couldn't do anything to please her. Everything I do, she'd find something wrong with it. Oh, yeah, and I'll tell you another thing. When I was, I must have been 8 years old, maybe 7 or 8, and I was trying to sew at something at the sewing machine, and I got my finger under the needle, stuck the needle through my fingernail here, and of course Mother has yelling. Mother come in and took it out, turned the wheel on the machine to now. Well, I was awful hurt, and so she made a sling for me to put my arm in it, and I had to go outdoors to my daddy and my brother, and I said, I got stuck in the needle. I had to go to show them my sore finger. Oh, goodness.
Well, how did you do laundry?
What?
How did you do laundry?
Well, a rough board, I tell you.
Did you?
Yeah. Now let me tell you a story. When these stores have sales, watch it. I wanted a stomper to stomp my dirty clothes before I put them in the tub to wash. And Montgomery Ward's had a sale, a stomper for 45 cents. And I told my sister, she was working at that time, and that's when I had the kids and everything. And I said, go down there to Ward's and get this stomper, I need one. So she went and got it and come home while the tag was, paper tag was tied to the handle, you know, and I looked at it and I was looking at it on the stick of it, marked in black pencil, 39 cents. So if we'd bought it before the sale, we'd got it for 39 cents rather than 45. Same thing happened not too many years ago. One of the stores downtown had I belong to the Rebecca Lodge, which is the ladies of the Oddfellow Lodge, and we needed a refrigerator. The lodge halls, if you came down Britton Road out here, where you saw the lodge hall with this pole up with a light on it out. Well, one of the other ladies and I went to this store with, they had a sale on refrigerators, so we went there and bought one, but we didn't have any way to get it home, so, but I paid for it. And a week or so later, one of the Oddfellows were going to town. I told him, I said, he had a pickup. I said, let's go by and get the refrigerator we bought. So we went over there, and he said, let's go back here and look. So we walked back on the other end before we decided to pick up the refrigerator. Same refrigerator that we bought on sale was less than what I'd paid. So we went up, and they refunded me $100 or something anyhow. So these sales, don't buy a sale, wait till the sale gets over with and you'll get it cheaper. Because now this Jack that was taking us, he had bought a computer there earlier, and the same thing happened to him when he bought it, and then he went back when the sale was over, and he went and looked. Sure enough, it was cheaper then than he paid for it. So it wasn't just one thing, everything that upped. So I don't go for these sales anymore.
So Jones had a Montgomery Ward?
No,
No.
it's in Oklahoma City.
Oklahoma City.
In fact, Jones didn't, this superintendent that taught me algebra, he taught for 3 years, and then he quit and opened a store, grocery store down there at the next building east of the Sonic down here is Mr. Frederick's store, and he put in he'd buy sour cream. Well, all the other years we had to haul our because we lived on the farm, milked all the time, and the sour cream we had to take to Oklahoma City to sell. Well, when he put that in, well then we could sell it there. And my sister Ruth and I, we worked for him for a while. In fact, back then you had to buy all your own school books, so I guess maybe you still do, maybe, but anyhow, he put in school books and sold, and we helped there. And I ironed for them. His wife was a teacher also. They had two a boy and a girl, and the girl was too young to go to school. That I ironed her skirts, and her little skirts about this long. That I ironed for the ex-teacher and his wife. But she still taught. That he run the store.
Was it an electric iron?
No.
No.
Had to heat them on the stove, clamp down on them. Yeah.
Those were the days, right?
Those were the days. Yeah.
Well, describe your house that you grew up in.
It was a 2-story house. The kitchen, the dining room, the living room, bedroom, and the two rooms upstairs. My brother had one on the northeast corner, and my sister and I had the one on the southeast corner. So we got the nice cool breeze in the summertime, and he didn't.
How was it heated?
We had a wood stove and then a coal stove.
Pretty cold in the winter?
No, it was, if you had enough fuel, it was nice and warm. Yeah.
And bathroom?
No, we had a path.
With a Montgomery Ward catalog at the end?
Did what?
With a Montgomery Ward catalog?
No, well, we had catalogs, Montgomery Ward and Sears both. Yeah.
Usually they ended up in the outhouse?
They went to the outhouse, yep. Sure did.
Did your mother can?
Oh, yeah.
Was she a member of a homemaker club?
Yeah. It's called a Home Demonstration Club back then. They've changed its name now, and I belonged to it too till I went to work.
Did you take things to the county fair?
Yep. I worked there too.
What would you take? What would you take?
I made suits for my 2 boys, John and Bill, with my 2 boys, and I made little suits for them. I didn't get first place, but I got something, I don't remember now, maybe third, second or third. Red or white ribbon. The blue ribbon or green ribbon, whatever, was first, and then the red was second. Third white, I think, back then.
Where would you have to go to get your fabric?
To get my what?
Fabric?
Oh, we had to go to Oklahoma City for everything.
Everything, okay.
Yeah. Except groceries now. We come to Jones to get some groceries now and then.
Well, at what point did you realize, hey, I may make it to 100?
I never thought about making it to 100. If it hadn't been for this Lord Jesus, I wouldn't be here now either. In 1990, I discovered a lump in my breast, my left breast. Well, went to the doctor, and of course it was cancer, and he said it had been there about a year, and I hadn't done anything about it. So they did surgery, took out some and took the lymph nodes from this arm, and sent me home to go back the next day or 2 for more surgery. I was laying there on the bed, August the 9th, 1990, at 1:19 in the afternoon. And I was just praying, and something moved across my breast, just like if you take an eraser and smear it across the blackboard. That's what it felt like. So I went back then to have this additional surgery up to Edmond Hospital. And as the nurse was wheeling me back to my room, she said they didn't have to take out near as much as they thought they were going to have to. So the Lord healed me. I haven't had anything since 1990 to right now. So if it hadn't been for the Lord, I wouldn't have been here. And I still give him thanks for it.
Well, has anyone else in your family lived to be 100?
This Aunt Frida that is 5 years older than me, her birthday was the 10th of April. She was 100 then, and the 10th of April. Well, we went, John Carroll always, you can't shoot firecrackers here in Jones till they do it on the 4th, the town does it. But John Carroll lived on a farm out south here, half a mile. And every 4th of July, all the little kids around and all the kinfolks, we go out to John Carroll's, have supper, and they shoot firecrackers all afternoon on the 4th of July. Well, Aunt Frida and I went out there that night, and she'd been feeling kind of bad. And I drove her out, and I asked her how she was feeling. And she says, I feel better than I felt in a long time. Well, the reason we go like that is because we don't want to stay all the time. Those kids are out there shooting firecrackers. We come home and go to bed. So anyway, the next morning, her neighbor, Miss Aunt Frida's neighbor next door, always got her paper and threw it up on her porch for her. And she went out and got her paper and went back in and sat down in her rocker, and the paper fell on the floor. She sat there and died just after getting up, getting her paper. And so she lived 100 from April to July the 5th. But that's the only one. The oldest girl, Mother's the third one down. Mother's the second girl. There was a boy, and Aunt Pearl, and then Mother. And she lived, she was, I think, she was in her 90s. I'm not sure whether it's 93 or 94. Anyway, her dining room chairs had rollers on them. Well, she went to sit down in this chair one day, and it rolled out from under her, and she fell, sat on the floor, and it broke her hip. Well, she laid in the hospital for quite a while, then came home and stayed in the bed too. But that broken hip finally took her life. But she was in her 90s. But Aunt Frida's the only one that lived to be a 90. I mean, to 100.
Do you have any idea what contributed to the longevity?
The Lord.
Yeah.
Just the Lord did it. I've had some close calls, time or two, with my car or something, and I haven't had any problems at all. But anyway, I've had some awful close calls. Twice. It's the guy that's going to turn. He don't tell you he's going to turn. He don't turn his signal on, and you think you can go, and here he's turning at you. Twice now I've had real close. One fella bumped my back fender a little bit, but another one that's been not too long ago. Filling station out there. It was back when the price was going up, and this guy was a few cents cheaper, and everybody was going in there. And I used to bowl after this 1990. My niece got me to bowl, and she liked to bowl, and so she got me on. They needed somebody. I wasn't very good, but I enjoyed it. But anyway, I had stopped at this filling station on the way home from from bowling. And had already filled up and was about to turn out. Well, here's this guy coming, and I thought he was going on and I could go around. Well, here he came right at me. Well, I turned, but I was facing east and in the west traffic. Well, there was a car out at 23rd Street has most of the place has a wide spot in the center that nobody drives in there. Well, here I was, and this car went back by there, and then here come an old truck. Boy, he was just barreling down. I zipped around and got in that center line. But I was fussing at that old guy because he didn't turn his signal on.
Do you still drive today?
I drove today down here. I drive around here. I come to church and go to grocery store and things like that, but I don't try to go to Oklahoma City or anything like that anymore. Well, one reason, I only have one eye, and I've got to go get shots in it. I've already had one last week. There's some blood in it, and I have to take shots in my eye, three shots. This one, back in about 2004 or something like that, I noticed that I couldn't see as good as I should, but I didn't think I had my the phone number of the guy, the eye doctor that I'd been going to. So I messed around and didn't go to the eye doctor. Well, I finally did. Why, they sent me to a retina man, a Dr. Lawrence, over on, well, it's way out west here, in Oklahoma City, but anyway. And he said it looks like it had started to heal itself, and anything he'd do might make it worse, so he just left it alone. Well, it finally healed in about 6 years. It took about that long for it to heal. But it has scar tissue right in the front. I can see all around, but straight out I can't see. Well, this one I noticed a little while after that started doing the same. Well, I went to the eye doctor right quick then, and so I'm still going. She sent me. That's what it was. This other one was starting this ruptured retina also. So I'm going to this doctor, retina doctor, and a while back, well, it's been 3 or 4 years, I guess, back. Why, he said he started giving me shots in my eye. He caught that in time to do something about it. But this other one, he couldn't do anything. But anyhow, a while back, there was a little blood in this one, and they gave me shots in this eye. No. Then, what month was it? Well, it was 6 weeks ago, anyhow, a little over 6 weeks. Why, he said there was blood in this eye. So I've had one shot, and I'm going to go back in six weeks, 2 more times. Next time it'll be, I think it's the 19th of July, when I have to go the next time to get another shot in it. And I have to take certain eye drops. I put one in, my appointment's at 8 o'clock in the morning. At 7, I have to put a drop in my eye, 1 drop. And every 15 minutes after that, for 4 times, I have to get another drop in there till I go to the doctor.
I hope someone else is driving you. I hope someone else is driving you.
Oh, yes. John and Carol, I'll tell you, I couldn't live without them. I couldn't live at home without them. I'd have to go to a nursing home or something. Yeah. Yeah, so, but I have to go back and get 2 more shots now, 6 weeks apart. But I can still see and I read. That's my thing. I like to do puzzles. Try them. Some of these things in the newspaper now so hard I can't do anything about it. But
Well, what's a typical day like for you? What time do you get up and?
well, I'm up always before 5 o'clock. Nearly always before 5 o'clock. In fact, I drink about a half a cup of Coke or Pepsi for my supper. I eat from 5:30 to 6, somewhere in there, half a sandwich, and drink about a half a Coke or something. And then I have to get up 3 or 4 times in the night to go to the bathroom. and if the last one, in fact, this morning, it was a little after 4, the last time I had to get up and go to the bathroom, so I just got up this morning.
And what do you do during the day? What's a typical day like in your life?
Sit in that recliner and read books and play puzzles.
Do you have a favorite book or a favorite author?
I like them westerns. I'm an old cowboy gal.
And what time would you go to bed then?
I go to bed from 8:30 to 9:30, somewhere in there. If I'm reading, or I don't ever turn it after Wheel of Fortune's over with, I turn it off and read or try to get some of the crossword puzzles. Some of them are so hard I don't know anything. I'm worn out 3 or 4 books trying to find the answers to some of them things. And by the way, I was born Easter Sunday. I was born Easter Sunday. And I don't know if it was just a while back, or I think it was, he was talking about one of the days earlier, the weatherman started out real nice, warm day, and it ended up freezing cold on at Easter when I was born. And just the other day, he was talking about that same thing. It was going to be real hot to start out with, and then it's turned off real cold. That's what it was, Mother said, when I was born.
Were you born at home?
I don't know.
You don't know.
Nobody ever told me. But I expect we were, because I don't know whether Edmund had a hospital at that time or not, or what. Nobody ever told me.
One thing I forgot to ask was, when you were growing up, did you ever win any, in your life, any awards or achievements, or did you ever win any?
I didn't understand you.
Did you ever, as a child or growing up as an adult, did you ever win any awards?
Oh yeah. I could run. I've got gold medals for running while I was in grade school at Red Top. In fact, the Historical Society down here at did you see the train caboose down here? Caboose is the museum. Well, in that museum, there's loving cups that we won. Our race team, I guess you'd call it. But for the 50-yard dash, I lacked a half a second of having the record. Come to find out, my aunt, one of my mother's sisters, had the record at 6. I ran it in 6.5 seconds, and she had run it in 6 seconds, the 50-yard dash. Well, I have a little gold square with a runner pictured on it at home, and the 100-yard dash, I have the little gold thing. I don't remember what my 100-yard dash time was. And then for overall, we had the relay race and 50-yard, 100, and a baseball throw. Well, I couldn't throw the baseball, but one of my teammates, she could throw that ball a mile, I'll tell you. And if this 6.5 seconds, I thought I was running as fast as I could, and here was this girl that showed the baseball. Here she was. Well, I could outrun her, and I was ripped up. If I'd have run as hard as I ended up when I started, I'd have maybe beat Aunt Audrey's time. when you see somebody there that you know you can outrun, you step on it. Here I thought I was running, no, I wasn't. But I do have these gold medals that I won. That's when I was in grade school, 7th and 8th grade.
In good shape, when you were in good shape.
Yeah.
And today in life at 101, do you have a motto you live by? Do you have a philosophy that you follow in life?
No, I'm just here doing whatever I want to. I never even thought about living this long. But I still don't feel like I'm that old. And one of the Baptist church up here has the first Tuesdays every month. They have a dinner for the elderly people, I guess you call it. And they have a speaker or some kind of a program each time. And this was a minister from somewhere else, I don't know where he came from, but he was talking. And that's when I was just turning 100. And I said, they was talking about me, and I said, well, I sure don't feel like I'm that. And he said, you sure don't look it either.
You don't.
Well, one thing, my hair hasn't turned gray. This little spot here, my grandma Tiller, mother's mother, was gray-headed, but right down the back of her head, she had a streak of black hair. My mother was a redhead, and right down the back of her head, she had a white streak. Well, I had to be different. My white streak's in the front.
That's very pretty. So you married a second time? You were married. You've been married twice?
Yes. My first husband, Carol's husband's daddy, I don't know what happened. Anyhow, I had come home from work. He died in 1968. And I come in, and we were then living with his parents, where I'm living now. And his mother said he still had pajamas on. She said he's been in bed all day. He hadn't even got up to eat anything. And I asked him if he'd like to have a glass of milk. So he said, yeah. So I went and got a glass of milk and sat it in the window there beside him where he could reach it, and then went to the bathroom. Well, when I was in the bathroom, I heard him coughing. And when I come out and went in there, his face was the color of that, black as a colored man. Well, I rushed in and called the doctor. We had he was an old DO or something, I don't know what it was, an MD. Well, he came up and gave him a shot of some kind, I don't know what, but anyway, I had already gone in and called the ambulance because he'd been in the hospital a time or two for, they said what they were working on is his lungs had like dirt in his lungs or something, whatever that was. But he never had been anywhere to get dirt in. Of course, lived on a farm, but didn't have to do that much boiling around on the farm. But anyway, I took him to the hospital, and that was the end of it. They told me to go sit in a. Well, I got there while he was still in the emergency room, and they was getting ready to take him upstairs to somewhere, and they asked me if I wanted to ride up in the elevator with him. I said, no, I'll go in and check him in to get him up to bed. Well, I went in to check him in, and they told me then to go up to a little waiting room and wait up there. So anyway, and it wasn't very long till someone came in. Said he was gone. And I said, oh, I was afraid of that. And I was. But I still don't know what. Well, I have an autopsy that. See, I worked with a doc. We had a doctor and a pharmacy there where I worked, and I told her, and somehow she got this autopsy for me, and there was a lady doctor there. So I have that, but I still don't know what, I can't read all their terms that they had used. But anyway, that was it. His dad died in 1967. He died in 1968, 6 months later, and his mother died in 1969. I had 3 burials for 3 years.
And then you waited, and then you remarried?
Yes, I remarried in 1977, and it lasted till 1979. That's something else too. He'd been married to this woman, married and divorced 3 times. And I thought surely he was done with her by that time. He wasn't. He went back to her after 2 years with me. And then she had a stroke or something and was in a nursing home, it wasn't really a nursing home, it was just a home that somebody took people in. And he had to go and sit with her every day. And he didn't last very long. She died, but he lasted maybe a couple of years, but I think it run him crazy to have to stay with her like that. But he was a mail carrier back in them days when they had to walk around, and this wife followed him all the time. She was so jealous of him. She'd drive around behind him.
Well, when history is written, what do you want it to say about you?
Just tell them I'm glad I'm here as long as I stay, as long as the Lord lets me stay.
Grandma Grace. Grandma Grace.
Grandma Grace. Carol's daughter, Annette. Sometime back, if you read that newspaper, you might have seen it. I should have brought one of those writings. She had just before my 101st birthday, she sent this article into the Daily Oklahoman with my picture in it. And there's quite a write-up on that.
In that picture, you're holding a baby.
Uh-huh. Did you see it?
I saw it. Who is that baby?
Yeah, that baby was my first great-great-grandchild. Now I have 8 great-great-grandchildren and 2 more on the way. This I'm holding is a little girl. That's the only girl. Every one of these others are boys.
So 1 girl.
1 girl and 9 boys.
Oh my God.
Yeah. No.
Well, any advice for someone wishing to live to 100?
Just live a good life and enjoy it.
Well, we thank you very much for sharing your story with us today. It's been a pleasure.
I've sure done a lot of talking.